Boruto to Blue Vortex Chapter 2 is out, and the cover is of Sarada and the title is called Tree. Now the chapter starts off with Code saying that he's been looking for Boruto and that he didn't expect him to come out so easily, and if that's the case, then Boruto should have come to Konoha sooner. Now Code is just yapping here, it's complete cap, doesn't even make sense because the whole point was he couldn't find Boruto, and so he came to the Leaf Village so that Boruto would come to the Leaf Village too. It's literally the entire plan, so he's just yapping. Now Boruto though is very serious and he says, withdraw your monsters from here, every last one of them, while you still can. If you do that, I'll spare your life. So this is the start of Boruto dishing out his threats towards Code, and it just gets worse throughout the chapter here. Now Code is astonished by this and is like, hey, wait a second, what did you say? 2 years ago, didn't you run away from me without doing anything? You are telling me that you'll spare my life? And Boruto's just like, you heard it, right? If you understand, just do it already. Or this time, you won't get away with just your left eye. Now this confirms to us that Boruto is in fact the one who slashed Code's left eye. It's probably not the claw grime, because otherwise Boruto wouldn't be making this threat. And it's probably not Sasuke, just because the threat wouldn't really hit the same if Boruto's not the one who slashed Code's left eye before. This scene is very reminiscent of when Kawaki did the exact same thing to Garo when he told him that he would lose a lot more than just his chin this time. It's basically the exact same threat. Now Code says, I'm surprised, coming here and bluffing around, I can't help but laugh. And Sarada's just like, Boruto. And Boruto says, Sarada, there's a lot of people out there who didn't make it. You take care of that. Leave this to me. Sarada asks if he's alright, and Boruto just never looks at Sarada whatsoever. He just says, we'll talk later, but first, stay alive. Now the combination of Boruto's serious demeanor, his seeming unwillingness to look Sarada in the eyes, and Sasuke's mysterious absence right now, has made a lot of people wonder if something bad happened to Sasuke, or even worse, if Sasuke is now dead. And because of this, Boruto feels extremely guilty, and that's why he can't bear to look Sarada in the eyes. It makes sense. The only thing is just, would Kishimoto really be willing to kill Sasuke off screen over the time skip? I mean, I'll say anything's possible. I just would have preferred that he dies in real time if he did die after all. But only time will tell. We just need to keep an eye on Boruto's behavior because at the very least it does seem like something did happen to him to make him change his behavior so much. That doesn't happen just from training with Sasuke. Something would need to happen to Boruto to lead to this change in behavior. The same way that Sasuke behavior changed so many times throughout Naruto because of various very important things that happened to him along the way. Something similar would apply to Boruto. In any case though, we then see Shikadai catch some claw grime in shadow possession, and then Chocho comes in with a giant fist to smack one of them. However, one of the hacks abilities of these claw grime are that they can pop out of each other through Code's claw marks. And when it does so, it sneaks up behind Chocho, and it comes in trying to bite her or eat her, which is actually going to be important moving forward. Luckily though, Inojin comes in clutch and snatches that claw grime with a bird to save Chocho. However, these guys aren't the weakest things in the world, and all it does is slash the bird with its tail, and then Himawari falls off, and the claw grime tries to bite Himawari too. And that's when Kawaki comes swooping in like he's a bird himself, and he just yells at them to get out of his way. And then he kicks the claw grime, sends it back, and that's when we get one of the most interesting developments in the entire chapter. This claw grime opens up a Rinnegan eye. Now there's a few different theories you can make as for how this works. So as we know, none of the claw grimes have had eyes so far at least. They just don't have eyes. Most of them have claw marks covering where their eyes would be, and for any claw grime that has room for where the eye would normally be, they just don't have an eye. Claw grimes just don't have eyes, apparently. However, back in chapter 72, we did see Code take the claw mark on his wrist, put it up to his left eye, and then teleport his left eye into a claw grime so that he could see out of that claw grime using his claw marks. That claw grime actually looked to be the exact same one as the one we're seeing here because the claw mark on its head was the exact same shape. It just looks like the same one, minus the marks on its face here. That seems to be a new development. In any case though, this leads us to a few possible conclusions. So one option is that mysterious mark underneath the claw mark on Code's forehead is actually just a closed Rinnegan third eye. And since the claw mark is literally over that hypothetical Rinnegan eye, he would be able to teleport it into any random given claw mark the same way he did with his left eye in chapter 72. Now, the simplest explanation would be the fact that the Ten Tails itself already has a Rinnegan eye, so all of the strongest claw grime that inherited the most amount of the Ten Tails' power could also hypothetically awaken a Rinnegan eye. Now, another explanation is that it's because of the claw marks that are mixed in with the Ten Tails here. As we know, Code's claw marks also contain Code's blood, and thus Code's DNA. Now, the mixing of the Ten Tails with human DNA may have some interesting side effects, where one of these could be this Rinnegan eye. Now, a fourth possibility is just an extension of that third one, which is that Amato implies in chapter 75 that Code's claw marks also come from Shibai the same way that Eida and Damon's abilities do. And as he directly states in that chapter, he transplanted Shibai's DNA onto Eida and Damon in order to grant them those abilities. And so if he did in fact do the exact same thing to Code, that would mean that these claw marks also contain Shibai's DNA because it was mixed with Code's DNA. And so the mixing of Shibai's DNA, or probably just any Otsutsuki DNA, with the Ten Tails may also have some interesting side effects, such as awakening a Rinnegan eye. I think these are probably the four main theories that could explain this claw grime having a Rinnegan eye here. Moving on though, Himawari says, "Thank you, big bro," to Kawaki, and he says, "Stop calling me that. How many times do I have to tell you?" And Himawari's just like, "What?" And I like the scene with Kawaki because I feel like it shows that there's a sense of guilt in the back of his mind. He doesn't want to be called Himawari's big brother. He doesn't think he deserves to be called Himawari's big brother, because he knows deep down that he's trying to kill Himawari's actual big brother, and he's the one who sealed her parents away. Kawaki is very self-deprecating, so I think this is very in character for him. But anyway, Shikanai says, "Hey, this guy is different from the other claw grimes. It seems more superior." It then blitzes into a claw grime on the ground and pops up behind Kawaki before he can notice in time, and then it choke slams him into the ground. Now this one is clearly a lot stronger than the other ones were. And then it says, "Otsutsuki," which reminds me a lot of back in the war arc of Naruto, when Obito was being taken over by the Ten Tails, and they called him Obito, and then the Ten Tails in control Obito says, "Obito." That's kind of what this reminds me of. So I don't think it's actually all that crazy for these claw grime to kind of speak English, because again, the Ten Tails itself literally did that in the war arc. Obviously it's not having like super coherent sentences in English, but it was speaking Obito's name at the end of the day. In this case, all it's doing is saying Otsutsuki. So I don't find that crazy personally. Shikanai though then traps in a shadow possession, tells Kawaki to get away, and Kawaki then activates his karma because he's really mad, and he says, "Otsutsuki. It pisses me off when people call me that." And then it blows it up the same way he blew up Garou and the same way he tried to blow up Code back in chapter 67. Now a bunch of other claw grimes start popping up, but it doesn't really matter because these regular claw grimes aren't actually all that strong. The one with the Rinnegan was clearly a lot stronger than the average one is. We can actually kind of scale them based off this interaction with Kawaki, because we see blatantly that base Kawaki is a lot stronger than the regular claw grimes, whereas that Rinnegan one seemed to be stronger than base Kawaki. I mean, it chokeslammed him into the ground. Then Kawaki activates karma to destroy that claw grime. So the Rinnegan claw grime is probably stronger than base Kawaki but weaker than karma 1 Kawaki. It gives us a little bit of insight. Whereas the regular claw grimes, I mean, Team Shikacho's handling him just fine, Kawaki's handling him just fine, Sarada was handling him just fine, Boruto goes on to handle him just fine. They don't seem to be all that crazy strong, being realistic here. So despite the fact that it seems like there's an endless number of claw grimes, Kawaki says, "It doesn't matter. I'll destroy every last one of them." And I thought Kawaki just looked really cool in this panel. I don't know, it's kind of random, but I thought this panel of Kawaki looks pretty cool. Anyway though, we then cut to Boruto and Code, where the claw grime are still just standing there surrounding Boruto, but finally one of them attacks them, but Boruto just slices it in half with ease, and then he proceeds to just slice up a bunch of them all at once. And because of that, Code realizes that, okay, Boruto's pretty strong, he's not just bluffing. And Boruto says, if you are still gonna do this, there won't be any of them left. And Code says, don't get too cocky just because you killed a few. There's plenty more of them out there. Besides, they're just tools for me. And Boruto says, you still don't understand the true horrors of the Ten Tails. Code's just like, what did you say?
What did he say?
Sarada then takes out a bunch of claw grimes. She does some hand signs and a fireball jutsu. Then she does a Chidori without any hand signs to take out a few more of the claw grime. And it's pretty funny. The guys in the background are like, amazing! Are you really a genin? And she's like, it doesn't matter, right? Whether I'm a genin or a jonin.
It doesn't matter!
But then a claw grime pops out of another claw grime and sneaks up behind Sarada and goes to bite her. And the guy who was like, amazing! Jumps in front to save Sarada's life. Where that claw grime bites him in the neck. And when it does so, it turns into a tree. Very similar to how the Ten Tails turns into a divine tree when it eats an otsutsuki. It seems like a very similar process, and as you can imagine, this is why the chapter is titled Tree, because these things are turning into trees. And this surprises Sarada and literally everyone else. We then see in the background a claw grime sneak up behind a ninja, bite it in the back of the neck, and then it slowly starts turning into a tree, where we get to see the 3 panels, where it's the normal claw grime, then it's like half claw grime, half tree, and then it's just a tree. And then with this context in mind, we cut back to Code and Boruto, where Code says, I've known about Ten Tails. Of course you do. They eat otsutsukis. Well, the truth is, they're just a beast that feeds on anyone and everyone on instinct, until the time they find an otsutsuki. And Boruto says, normally that might be true, but not anymore. That's because of the transformation you added. And this is in reference to the claw marks that Code mixed in with the Ten Tails to create these claw grime. Now Boruto continues to say, but there's still time. You've held the ropes to hold them. You can annihilate them right now. Otherwise, they're headed for the worst future everyone can imagine. And Code says, what is your point now? When the Ten Tails eats an otsutsuki, it will take root on this great land and become a divine tree. When that time comes, this planet will perish. That worst future itself is my objective. And Boruto says, I'll only say this one time, Code. I'll let you live. In exchange, you will lead me to the place where you hid Ten Tails' real body. Now Code says, even stupidity has its limit, Boruto. Have you lost your mind? And Boruto really disses Code here and says, I'll be blunt. Killing you is easy. Rather than just dying in vain, why don't you do one good thing for the world instead of wasting your life? I love the diss. And Code says, that's bullshit. You're the one who's going to die. And Boruto says, there's no saving for this idiot, huh? So apparently, the biggest thing Sasuke's been teaching Boruto is how to come up with good insults for Code. Now Boruto, we then see him activating a jutsu by his hand, and it's traveling around his entire body. Now Code says, it's Rasengan. This fool, he doesn't think I knew about it? And then the final text on the side says, shunned from his hometown and now being chased, what kind of new power did Boruto gain in the midst of it? Where he says Rasengan Uzuhiko, where you see these kind of clouds of chakra and dust or whatever floating around his entire body. So it kind of seems like the Rasengan is around his entire body. If anything, just based off the image, it looks like an invisible Rasengan around his body. Kind of like an invisible rotation, except it's a Rasengan, so he doesn't have to rotate. I don't really know what exactly is going on here. We're gonna have to see chapter 3. I've seen a lot of your guys' theories on my spoiler video for this, but either way, it does look to be a pretty cool jutsu. I just am not fully sure what it's gonna be. I like the idea of it being invisible like a vanishing Rasengan, so it incorporates his lightning nature. In some ways it reminds us of Chidori's string where it's traveling around its body, and because it's a Rasengan, which is a spiraling sphere, it could be similar to rotation where it's like basically a defensive shield. The only difference is he doesn't have to rotate. He can move around inside this hamster ball defensive Rasengan shield. So I don't know if that's what it's gonna be, but I do think it's pretty cool. Now, this chapter definitely felt very short to me. Half of it is just action, but it wasn't like major action like the same way you have like Naruto versus Delta, or Kashi and Koji versus Jigen, or Naruto and Sasuke versus Jigen. It's not like one of those fights where the action itself was what's important. The only important part of the action in this chapter really was just that the Rinnegan Claw Grime was seemingly stronger than base Kawaki and forced him to use the Karma Seal. Otherwise, the important stuff was really just the fact that the Claw Grime has a Rinnegan eye. It turns into a tree when it bites a person and seemingly sucks on their chakra. The mysterious, horrific thing about the 10 tails that Boruto knows about, and Boruto's new ability that he displays at the end of the chapter. That's about it. That's why the chapter felt short. That being said, I have been waiting for a really long time for the 10 tails to become an important plotline again, so I am very happy to see that there's more to the 10 tails, and I've actually been working on a video about the origins of the 10 tails in its relation to the otsutsuki for like a month and a half now, and it does seem very related here, so I am definitely going to keep working on that video. And I'm very curious what you guys think the secret about the 10 tails is that Boruto knows about and Code seemingly doesn't. But I want to hear what you guys think about this chapter. First, what do you think this new jutsu Boruto shows off is? How do you think it works, and what do you think it will do? Second, why do you think that Claw Grime was able to awaken a Rinnegan eye? Do you think it was one of the 4 options I mentioned earlier in the video? And if so, which option do you think it is? Or do you think it's a different option that I didn't list before? Third, what do you think the horrific thing about the 10 tails actually is? Do you think it's something about its origins? Do you think it's something about its power? Do you think it's something about what it wants to do, or what? Let me know what you guys think there. And lastly, what do you think is the deal with Sasuke? Why is he missing? Is he dead? Is he injured? Did he betray Boruto and go off on his own? Or is he just chilling, letting Boruto do his thing right now? Let me know what you guys think in the comment section below, and be sure to check out my chapter review on Peak Fiction with Bara B, It's Meek and Mellow, as well as my live review on the Walkie Talkie podcast with Udi and Trippy and a special guest. But that's a wrap on today's video, so thank you guys for watching until the end.
You're already under my genjutsu.
Don't forget to subscribe, leave a comment, like the video, check out my podcast channel, check out Peak Fiction, become a member, and hit the bell icon for notifications.
Sorry, Sasuke. Maybe some other time.
Have a great rest of your day, and I'll catch you guys next time. Bye.